What is one idea that you would champion to reduce inflation? We ask you to be specific. You have 60 seconds.
Well, first of all, you have to blame this administration and Senator Warnock because within 2 years, this inflation has gotten worse. They cut our energy independence. They also raised taxes. And at the same time, they reckless spending all our money. So he would sit here tonight and say that he's doing a good job for us, and you ask me what is one job I would do to help the inflation. First of all, we got to become independent, energy independent again. And the reason why, we're going to our enemies to ask for gas and oil. And that puts us not just in an inflation problem, but it puts us in a national security problem. And I think that's something that I think Senator Warnock need to realize. And he mentioned that he grew up here in Savannah with 12 siblings, Well, in this area, most people live paycheck to paycheck. And when you have inflation the way he's brought inflation on, how in the world can you buy grocery or gas for your family?
A follow-up question.
At the grocery store, at the pump, at pharmacy counters. And while we are paying record prices, a lot of our corporate actors are seeing record profits in the oil and gas industry and the pharmaceutical industry, which is why I've stood up for ordinary, hardworking Georgia families time and time again. I passed the single largest tax cut, contrary to what my opponent is suggesting, for middle and working class families in American history. And we passed the Inflation Reduction Act, which had two of my provisions. One, caps the cost of prescription drugs for seniors so they don't have to choose between buying medicine and buying groceries. And one caps the cost of insulin. He said he would not have voted for the Inflation Reduction Act, and I think he should tell the people of Georgia why he thinks they should have expensive insulin and why the pharmaceutical companies should be able to charge us whatever they like.
Well, first of all, may I respond? I believe in reducing insulin, but at the same time, you got to eat right. Because he may not know, and I know many people that's on insulin, and unless you have eating right, insulin is doing you no good.
Of abortion, we're going to start with you, Mr. Walker. A week before this debate, a former girlfriend made public accusations saying you paid for an abortion and that you encouraged her to have another. In an ABC News interview this week, you said that the accusations are, quote, all lies. For the voters watching tonight, can you explain the circumstances surrounding these claims? You have 60 seconds.
Well, as I said, that's a lie. And, most thing I put it in a book. One thing about my life is I've been very transparent. Not like the senator. He's hid things. But at the same time, I said that's a lie. And on abortion, I'm a Christian. I believe in life. And I tell people this, Georgia is a state that respects life, and I'll be a senator that protects life. And I said that was a lie, and I'm not backing down. And we have Senator Warnock, people that would do anything and say anything for this seat, but I'm not going to back down because this seat is too important to the Georgia people for me to back down right now.
You've been vocally pro-life, supporting a ban on abortions without exceptions. Would you support a complete ban on a national level?
Well, first of all, see, that's not true either. I said I support the heartbeat bill. And I say I support the Georgia heartbeat bill because that's the bill of the people from Governor Kemp.
The next few weeks, is it still your position that you're against abortion at any?
I believe in life, and there's no excuses about it.
That includes rape, incest.
I believe in life.
The women of Georgia have a clear choice. He says no exceptions, even in the case of rape, incest, or the life of the mother. I think that's extreme, it's out of touch with Georgia, and I intend to do the work that senators can do.
It's unfair. First of all, how can you transfer someone debt who owe it to someone that don't owe it? And also, Senator Warnock brags about making $400 billion that now the taxpayer, all you in the audience, got to pay for. You got to pay that debt. And I didn't co-sign for anyone's loan. I hope no one out here co-signed for anyone's loan because I didn't co-sign for anyone's loan, and it's not right, it's not fair.
Mr. Walker, we're continuing with a follow-up for you now, Mr. Walker. College tuition, it skyrocketed, 175% over the past 20 years. What will you do to stem the cost of higher education going forward?
Well,
And
first
you
of
have
all,
30 seconds.
First of all, what you should do is get rid of federal funding of any college that raised their costs. Get rid of federal funding of any college that raised their costs. That's the first thing that you should do.
So that is what you would do.
Yeah, that's
We're
what I would
asking
do.
what
Any
you
college,
would do.
Well, any college that raised their costs, I get rid of any federal funding that they're going to get.
Thank you.
You know,
We're moving on.
I find it
Very brief.
it's interesting to me that folks who have been crying about the student debt relief haven't said anything about multi-billionaire corporate entities who've gotten PPP loans. Well, I'm glad that we finally passed the first gun safety law in 30 years, and we did that on a bipartisan basis. I believe that this law will indeed save lives, and I'd like to see us work and see what we can achieve beyond that on a bipartisan basis. My heart goes out when I see the kinds of tragedies that we're witnessing all across our state, all across our country, and it's the reason why I have passed legislation to support law enforcement. I passed the largest investment in the COPS program in a decade. I introduced legislation called Invest to Protect that's endorsed by the sheriffs of Burke County and Scriven County because it supports some of our smaller law enforcement entities. So we got to stand up with law enforcement, but we've also got to create opportunity.
Senator Warnock, thank you. Mr. Walker, we're posing the same question to you, sir. In 1 minute, what should the next step be to solve gun violence?
Well, first of all, any law or bill passed that will affect anyone's Second Amendment, I'm not going to stand for and I won't support. But third, to hear Senator Warnock talks about supporting law enforcement is sad because he's called them names. And because of the name calling he's done, the morale is down, recruitment is down, only because of what he's done. He's empowered criminals to think they're better than the police. And because he believes in no cash bail, is releasing prisoners, he don't protect the border. Fentanyl is coming to this country and also into Atlanta. 70% of the drugs coming from the border goes to Atlanta, Georgia. And he talks about the police. I have more sheriffs that has endorsed me than anyone running in Georgia right now. And I even have some sheriffs here. They've endorsed me because they know I have their back. They're going to have my backs. So to listen to him say that after calling them name, I think it's a disgrace.
Mr. Walker, thank you. I have a follow-up now for both of you.
I think I ought to be able to respond to that.
I will give you the opportunity, 15 seconds to respond, Senator Warnock.
We will see time and time again tonight, as we've already seen, that my opponent has a problem with the truth. And just because he said something doesn't mean it's true. I have supported our police officers. I've called them and I've prayed with their families, like those officers lost in Cobb County when they were killed, doing what police officers routinely do. You can support police officers, as I've done, through the COPS program, through the Invest to Protect program, while at the same time holding police officers, like all professions, accountable. One thing I have not done, I've never pretended to be a police officer, and I've never threatened a shootout with the police.
Well, and now I have to respond to that.
We are moving on,
I have
gentlemen.
to respond to that. And you know what's so funny? I work with many police officers, and at the same time,
Mr. Walker, Mr. Walker, excuse me, Mr. Walker.
When
please,
he say a problem
out of
with
respect,
the truth is
I need
here.
to let you know, Mr.
Yes.
Walker, you are very well aware of the rules tonight.
Yes.
And you have a prop.
Yes.
That is not allowed, sir.
Yes.
I ask you to put that prop away.
Well, it's not a problem. This is real. And he said, I have a problem. I never worked with law enforcement.
It is considered a prop, Mr. Walker.
Yes.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
You're very well aware of the rules, aren't you?
Well,
Aren't you aware of the
he
rules?
brought up the truth. Let's talk about the truth.
Thank you for putting that
Yes.
prop away. And
Senator Warnock, we need to move forward here. You have been very open about your struggles with mental illness, and you even wrote a book about your diagnosis of dissociative identity disorder. We recently asked if you were still receiving treatment, and this is what you had to say.
No, that's all done. And you don't need to. And that's why I tell people, I think one thing I told people is I've been open about it, and I was open about it, 14 years ago.
Mr. Walker, in 30 seconds, can you clarify this? Are you saying you no longer have dissociative identity disorder, or is this something that you continue to this day to manage?
No, you don't have to have treatment for it. And I encourage people to continue to talk to people. I talk to my pastors. And I continue to get help if I need help. But I don't need any help. I'm doing well.
Mr. Walker, with more than 1.5 million Georgians uninsured, in 1 minute, is it time for the federal government to step in to ensure all Georgians have access to health care?
Well, right now, people have coverage for health care. It's according to what type of coverage do you want. Because if you have an able-bodied job, you're going to have health care. But everyone else have health care is the type of health care you're going to get. And I think that is the problem. And what Senator Warnock wants you to do is depend on the government. What I want you to do is get off the government health care and get on the health care he's got to get you a better health care. So that's what I'm trying to do, to make you independent rather than dependent. Back. Well, what the people can be assured of is I'm willing to meet with hospital administrators, meet with people rather than writing a letter, because Senator Warnock waited till they made a decision and wrote a letter. And I said they don't need a pen pal, they need solutions.
We are moving on now. Senator Warnock, that same question to you, sir. What measures can Congress enact to ensure everyone has access to hospitals and doctors? You have 30 seconds.
Well, clearly he doesn't have a solution.
Well, I said I'll meet with administrators. That's a solution.
He said
you didn't do that.
His solution is to meet. My solution is to pass legislation, which I've done. I got $4 billion in the American Rescue Plan to help the non-expansion states to do what they should have done to expand. They left that money on the table. Georgia left 600,000 Georgians in the Medicaid gap. And so I'm going to keep standing up because people are literally dying for lack of health care. Dr. King said that of all the injustices, inequality in health care is the most shocking and the most inhumane. I agree with Dr. King. Well, thank you so very much, Georgia. It's wonderful to be here. Listen, in this state, we have nearly 11 million people, and only 2 people get to represent us in the United States Senate, just 2. And when I think about that, it is an awesome responsibility, one that humbles me and inspires me to work as hard as I can for hardworking families every single day. And I've worked with Democrats and Republicans in order to do that work. These are difficult times. These are dark times. But the scripture says that the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness overcometh it not. I'm honored to represent you in the Senate. I hope that you'll show up to vote early. Beginning Monday, I'd be honored to have your vote. God bless you. Keep the faith.
Mr. Walker, your turn for closing statements, and you have 60 seconds as well.
For those of you who are concerned about voting for me, a non-politician, I want you to think about the damage politicians like Joe Biden and Raphael Warnock had done to this country. I want you to think about Raphael Warnock, what he said today. And I said he was going to try to give you some smooth talk and tell you what's happening. What's happening is this country is hurting. What's happening is we need leaders. So what I want to say to you, Senator Warnock, is I want to thank you. I want to thank you for this. But at the same time, I want to say Georgia needs leaders. They need leaders that's going to stand up for them. So let's think about if we give Senator Warnock 6 more years, think of what this country will become. I'm not sure if we can make up for that.
Gentlemen,
so I
thank
said
you.
Vote for Herschel Walker.
Thank you both, gentlemen. That's going to conclude our debate.
Family values people. He has 4 kids, 4 different women, wasn't in the house raising one of them. He was out having sex with other women. Do you care about family values? I was silent, lie after lie after lie. The abortion card drops yesterday. It's literally his handwriting in the card. They say they have receipts, whatever. He gets on Twitter. He lies about it. Okay, I'm done. Done. Everything has been a lie. And so for the right to say I'm being suspicious for saying, hey, I'm done with the lies, when you all have been calling me saying, is this true about your dad? Gosh, we're not going to win Georgia, this candidate, all. That's been you. You have no idea what I've been through in my life. You have no idea what me and my mom have survived. We could have ended this on day 1. We haven't. I haven't told any stories. I'm just saying don't lie. Don't lie on my mom. Don't lie on me. Don't lie on the lives you've destroyed and act like you're some moral family man. Y'all should care about that, conservative.